I've just caught up with my old friend from Bristol University, Darhim Hashim, who is the Group CEO of Radimax Group and the Non-Executive Director of Prasarana Malaysia, the largest public transport operator.
It's good to see you, Mei Wai. It's also good to see you haven't changed much since Bristol.
Thank you.
Well, we've seen major changes here in Malaysia, particularly, of course, with the change of government. Quite an unprecedented event. I mean, this is the first time it's happened in the 61 years of independence that we've had. So everyone, including the members of the new government, are still adjusting and finding their feet in this new world. And then what are the impacts? Well, there's obviously plus and minus. There's a direct impact to the government-linked companies, the government-linked investment companies. We've seen some major sweeping changes to the top management. So I guess these guys didn't expect to be unemployed suddenly, but now they are. Indirectly, well, we as a pure private company are also feeling the effects. A lot of our business comes from the government. We have a concession with the Ministry of Health to provide support services for 43 hospitals, government hospitals. Our shipyard takes part in tenders and exercises for the Navy as well as the Coast Guard. So I think inevitably in a country like ours, a lot of companies are quite dependent on business from the government, indirectly as well as directly. So if you were to ask me what has been the impact, well, on the plus side, there's been more openness, more transparency in terms of procurement through more open tenders. So we're able to participate more on a fair, even playing field. I guess on the downside, what we're lacking here is some clarity in terms of policy direction. New government probably has some new ideas, so we would like to know what those new ideas are as they impact on our own investment decisions. So overall, what's really happened is that this has been a big wake-up call for everybody. No one really anticipated this would happen, but now that it has, we need to know how to react properly. And one thing we realized is that we weren't ready for any kind of change, let alone a change of government. So this is something which we realize is a shortcoming. So of course, change, dynamics and change is your forte, your expertise. So what are the trends that you are seeing in this area?
Well, what we're seeing is that the global rate of change is increasing, definitely. And there are multivariate and necessary changes that are taking place in healthy and progressive organizations. So it's not all about the environment impacting the change on people, but there's an increasing amount of people and talent related change issues. For example, linked to circumstances, as you have just mentioned. So many a times this was dealt with as competencies or capabilities issues, but that's not the case today. It's a lot more complex, and we're talking about change of mindset, performance, alignment of teams, and this has to be brought out by careful coaching and consulting for change. So what I find is that mental leadership today and organizations that are winning in the marketplace are in fact those where the leaders have actually beat the competition to align the full team to that change vision. Yeah? So you could have ideas, strategies, all written down, but they are all one-dimensional at the end. Top managements who are pulling all these different change agendas are not going to be able to be successful if they have not prepared their people and empowered their people to embrace that change. And what we're finding that in the very worst case, they could actually be unraveling the exact change that they want to take place. That's why I actually find that your discussion on Malaysia is indeed something which is very interesting, because it's all about fundamentals of change. And I mean, it's to be seen what's going to happen to the people and talent, and hopefully that's going to be able to catch the trajectory of change.
True. Yeah, I think by nature we're very averse to change. I mean, that's one factor. But there's also the sort of self-imposed inertia, how a lot of our decisions are based on a constant. For example, buying new equipment, you do a forecast, and you assume that things will stay the same. So when change does happen, it upsets that whole investment decision.
That's right.
So I guess moving forward, the way to overcome this is to actually do the reverse, embrace change. And it is of course very, very difficult to get people to change their mindset, as you said, to embrace change. But I suppose, I mean, I would take a cue from the Japanese on how to approach this. One is the Kaizen, continuous improvement. So every day there's a small incremental changes for the better, and to have everybody do this. And of course, like in any culture, it must start from the top. The leadership must lead the way. And also at the second time, there's also a shock treatment, I call it. So whilst you have that Kaizen every day, but every now and again there needs to be a major change that's actually imposed on the company or the organization, like moving premises. Something that disrupts everybody, gets everybody working together as a team and trying to achieve what is seemingly impossible. And that actually fosters a certain spirit that I think is aligned with what you were talking about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a real pleasure catching up with you. Thank you, Darhim,
Thank you for coming.
for having me for breakfast in your beautiful home.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And for this interesting change discussion.
Thank you.